This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
One more question.
Ain't my fault, Miss Dana. They made a mistake.
Right, it's my fault. But I'll actually schedule early, but there's no. I appreciate you taking the time anyway. But Dave Chappelle, I got to ask you about the Dave Chappelle Hollywood Bowl incident. See, he had fired security. I think they should be fired. They did a poor job of protecting Dave. But what's your take on that?
They should. And you know where everybody's, I've had security bodyguards and some of the best in the world. And I had a personal friend that I used to work for that wound up working for me as a co-executive producer on my show. And he was sort of unofficial security because he was a real live badass. Grandmaster Dr. Clifford Stewart of Los Angeles, the Black Belt magazine said was probably, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, really,
probably the most dangerous human alive in North America. So you know what his assessment of the weakest link in anybody's security was? Is the damn limo drivers that you couldn't depend on. So key one is get a good limo driver, and two, he would have fired every one of these ignorant son of a bitches and let that fool get up on the stage without knocking him down. Now, Chappelle is kind of athletic, so he dodged the guy who charged him, and he got jacked up and an arm broken, which is, you know, a freebie. Should have beat his ass real good. It was a freebie. Now, I'm not speaking as a judge. I'm just Joe Brown, who has a lifetime title now, thanks to the governor of Tennessee, Judge Joe Brown, you know. So it is what it is. Somebody presents an opportunity, venture frustration and aggression, and Jamie Foxx jumped in, and Chris Rock was there, and he got to make a comeback at that sissy-ass Will Smith bullshit, and he said, I guess she tried to pull off Will Smith or something like that.
We got a little bit of time.
Real Dana says, tell him, put it back 7 p.m. his time.
She did. Hey, I appreciate it, Dana. Thank you.
Oh, I like this picture of Dana she got up.
Oh, yeah, I mean, she's a good looking one, but I really enjoyed the conversation you had with Kevin Samuels, that impromptu, and Dana. I mean, she don't get enough credit for doing that. I mean, she's got an amazing platform. In my opinion, I think she's on our side as black men. I think she tried to
let's put it this way. I admire Miss Dana a hell of a lot. She goes through a lot of changes to do what she does. She's a grandmother several times.
Good grandmother, like she ain't the normal.
Grandmama can be.
I call her Jersey Red, but I got not judge. I met Dave Chappelle.
Well, one thing I want people to do, understand, she and I, we aren't really fighting because we talk a lot.
Right,
2 or 3 hours at a time off the, off the show on the phone. So she's just being a woman, but you have to understand that they're going to do their thing, and you have to do your thing as a man, which is be strong and be indulgent sometimes, but sometimes you have to put your foot down, and occasionally I do have to confess I've raised my voice to her when we're on the phone. So that's my thing. And I have to be settled and kind of fixed in my ways of being an alpha male. They tell me that, so I'm not trying to boast, but, there's a thing about, are you going to get run over by a woman? Or are you going to say ain't going to be no shit like that? I'm supposed to be in charge of protecting them, so I got to make everybody used to the idea that because when the shit hits the fan, ain't no time to debate on who's going to be in charge. Everybody has to be well versed, adapted, and used to the military commander being in charge. So every now and then you have to assert that. Like Native American chief told me when I visited him in Montana, he said, Judge, he said, back when, when the 7th Cavalry was coming over to try and exterminate some more of us Indians, and they were 4 hills away, we didn't have time to say, squaw, let's move. And she'd say, I ain't ready. I'm trying to grind my corn. No, pack your ass up right now and move, because you will be dead quickly and it won't make any damn difference. So we have to occasionally assert ourselves as being in charge, so they get used to the idea of when we say we need to be listened to now. It's like you do with the children. It's like, I'll explain later, but mama said this is what you're going to do. So when the children look at when daddy says this is what's going to happen right now, we'll talk about it later, they get the idea from looking.
I gotta ask you, cause I know I had I mean, we got a little bit of time. The Dave Chappelle thing, I met Dave twice and there was no security around. I met him like over 20, almost 20 years ago. This year, Tyson Lewis fight in Memphis. He was at the Peabody doing correspondent work for Jay Leno Tonight Show, but he was by himself in the corner. Nobody knew who he was really until the next year when the Chappelle show came out, and he was very approachable. Then I saw him in Dick Gregory's homegoing or wake at Howard University back in 2017. Very approachable guy, very cool guy. But it is weird you talking about the limo driver, because I'm thinking about President Kennedy when the Secret Service failed him in Dallas, and the driver was William Greer. He was an older, I think he was in his 60s actually. I think the guy was that drove Kennedy's limo. He actually slowed down so they got the kill shot on Kennedy, which was crazy to me.
Well, some Dallas detectives and I went over that scene, including the guy that discovered the rifle up in the Eyrie, and he didn't buy that was the source of the fatal shot.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you about this. Down on the ground, they actually had the actual limo with the bullet holes still in it. They'd scrubbed the blood out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Still some traces. And when we got down on the ground from that railroad bridge that had 7 rail tracks running across it, and there was only one cop up there, and he was facing the parade as per the photographic evidence. And there were 3 boxcars up there. Well, when the car is running toward that bridge, it's on the exact same level as that bridge. So there's no downward angle, there's no offset, no need to lead. It's a straight on point blank shot for 1,000, 2, 1,000 until you count to 7, which is easy shot for anybody that has passed basic training in shooting a rifle. The X thing is based on some experimental stuff. If the bullet hit the front window glass from the rear at the magic bullet, it would have bulged the glass out like someone's head hit it. If a bullet hits it from the front back, there's a nice clean hole. In that window, there's a nice clean hole. What these detectives did is brought out the carbon fiber rods that they used to angle the shots, and they had some styrofoam dummies of the governor and Kennedy positioned with the locations of the bullet holes in there. So what they did is they took the styrofoam dummies and took the Sharpie marks and they drilled them through the dummies. Mm-hmm. And when they put the carbon fiber rod through the hole in the windshield, through the governor where he got shot, and Kennedy, the bullet lines up with, guess where? The bridge. And at the time this happened, there were some openings in the bridge because there's a catwalk through the bridge that was put there back in the 19th century when gas lines went through there to feed the gas lights that were used to light up urban Dallas, Texas. So the thing with the grassy knoll, impossible. You know why?
Wow.
Because if the shooter was from there, he would have had that count on nobody standing between him and Kennedy. So even if you get 10 feet above that, you still don't have a shot, because as we saw and measured over and over again, when the limo comes by, Kennedy's head would have been chest high for most people who were standing on the side of the road looking at the parade. He couldn't have had a clear shot. But what we did come up with was this. If somebody actually had a rifle, he could take the bolt out, which is damn near instantaneous, drop the bolt and the rifle down through the grating right at the grassy knoll, and there is a tunnel that most people would just have to bend over slightly that's clear for 430 yards under the rail yard into a vacant weed infested semi-desert area on the other side. The first detective on the scene who found the rifle told me, he said, I don't think it was James Earl Ray. He said,
Lee Harvey Oswald.
I mean, Lee Harvey
They're all the same. They get confused. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, one thing is you couldn't just summon the elevator. It was from the 19th century. It was one of the first. You had to walk up and physically get the elevator or down. Now, when we went out, we saw that the elevator was on the top floor. So when we came out, you have to go from one side of the building down the first floor hallway to the staircase on the far side to go up to the Eyrie. He said, Lee Harvey was walking toward me, and I stopped him. I said, who are you? And the building superintendent said, oh, he works here. So just when I was talking to him, I noticed that the elevator, old time type with that clock hand that goes down, said it was moving past, which meant somebody was on that elevator and it went to the basement. I'm looking at Lee Harvey as the elevator goes by, and Lee Harvey looked very damn nervous, and he left. Now, he said, I went up there and I found the rifle, and I got on the horn and told people about it. We blocked it off with the yellow tape. He said, I know because I'm the one that assisted in taking the fingerprints. He said there was an identifiable fingerprint fresh on the buttstock of the Carcano rifle. He said, and it was not Lee Harvey Oswald's fingerprint. Now, some years later, under the Freedom of Information Act and a piece of legislation that Congress passed, George Herbert Walker Bush signed an executive order to facilitate, and so did Bill Clinton as president. He said, we got a print. The print was from the same individual that left the print on the buttstock. We knew who the guy was. He was a hitman. And some interesting stuff came out of this. He said the medical examiner who did the autopsy on Kennedy was a funeral director privately and owned the biggest funeral mortuary service in Texas. He had several graveyards that he owned.
He did on Oswald, right? He did the autopsy on Oswald,
on Kennedy.
On
he
Kennedy.
Did the one on Kennedy. He was a medical examiner for the state of Texas. So he said, I helped arrest him. I said, you arrested the medical examiner? He said, yeah, we had all these unsolved hits. And somebody got burnt up pretty bad, but they survived and identified the medical examiner as the person that shot him 5 times.
Yeah, it sounded like Texas.
So we arrested him, and we had him in the Dallas County Jail, same place we had Lee Harvey. Now, we were taking him to the courthouse, and he supposedly tried to escape and got shot 14 times. He said, well, I wasn't there for that autopsy, but I was told the cause of death was by gunshot. So he was supposedly buried in his cemetery. Now, 4 months ago, we got an order of an exhumation. We went and dug up his so-called coffin, but there was no body in it. And he like, whoa. And then the guy that supposedly left this print, who we know, He's interesting. He graduated at the top of his class from high school. He was standing first in his class as a sophomore in college. He was captain of the football team, captain of the baseball team. He was a war hero, and when he came back, he was quickly charged with first-degree murder when he shot a man in the head 5 times in front of 40-some witnesses in broad daylight in a cafe. He was sentenced to die by hanging. But in 6 weeks, the governor commuted his sentence to time served and reduced the charge to voluntary manslaughter. So we have been looking at him for a long time. So what happened is our records show he supposedly died in a 1-car wreck in broad daylight, passing through the Texas highway, passing down a Texas highway in the Texas desert. And he was buried in this graveyard that this guy who was the medical examiner owned. So they showed me a copy of the exhumation order on him. Nobody in the ground. So
now, his name wasn't Malcolm Wallace, right? It wasn't Malcolm Wallace.
No.
Okay.
It wasn't Malcolm Wallace. And by the way, Marie Brown, the late Mary Brown.
Madeline Brown, yeah.
She was Marie Brown. She had a son by LBJ in 1965 and introduced me to the boy he had in 1966 by a black White House secretary. I met both young men 20-some years ago. They look just like LBJ, except one of them is kind of paper bag brownish. And it's interesting. She said that LBJ discussed this with her. He just said, God damn. He said, I think they're going to get rid of the Catholic son of a bitch. He said, I don't like this. He said, this is just flat wrong. And the person he mentioned, she gave me the name, and it was the same name that the detectives brought up, that the fingerprint on the Carcano rifle belonged to. So this is the one they had exhumed only to find there was no body.
Well, Judge, let me ask you like this, because it's always an inside job with me on all these things, like with the MLK thing. But I know you're on time. But I got to ask you about the Chappelle thing. The way the guy who attacked him was charged with a misdemeanor. Was that correct call to charge him with misdemeanor?
Yeah, it was an attempted assault and battery under California.
But he had a knife though. He actually had a blade.
Well,
he actually used it on
him. If he had it on his person, somebody could submit him for indictment on a felony. We don't know if he was going to pull it out. And I think the DA in Los Angeles is likely to do that because there is a recall position against him for being too soft on crime that's to be heard during these midterm elections coming up. So that individual might go in front of a grand jury and get criminal attempt to wit murder or assault with a deadly weapon.
I think it should be that, because how can a guy who said that his grandma was a victim of gentrification and eviction, who had no means of support allegedly, get into a high-priced venue like the Hollywood Bowl with access to
there's no need to explain that. The Hollywood Bowl is set against the side of a hill.
Okay.
And there is forest that comes down on both sides. All somebody has to do is go through the back way where the stage is, hop the fence that is not really a barricade after wading through the foliage and get in there, and you got free access to the stage. So I can understand how he got in there. Matter of fact, my high school graduation was from the Hollywood Bowl.
And Joe, I got to ask you, I know we brought up Kevin Samuels before you get out of here. I got to get your take. I know you probably, because you a legal guy, but the circumstances of Kevin Samuels' death, the way he was found or who he was found with, the young nurse who he allegedly met the night before, he has an alleged heart attack. And then,
let me say this. I know the family lawyers, so it would not be appropriate to discuss. But let's just say this once again: what you're reading may not be accurate.
Okay.
All right.
We know
so
that. Yeah.
Also, you can even ask Dana about this. You're interviewing, and every show you do, you drink at least 3 Red Bulls. That's a whole lot of stimulant. And there are some questions out there about drinking mixed drinks where the main ingredient is Red Bull, that just drinking them. You got a lot of stress. It's a good way to get a heart attack.
I know he was a cancer survivor too. I think he underwent chemo at one point. And some people say he had heart issues because of that. I don't know, but I had a friend, Mr. A.L.L. Jr., who used to work for Isaac Hayes. He was a band director at Manassas and the founder of the Southern Heritage Classic. He would always tell me, "Ron, nobody dies a natural death in show business."
Well, let me put it this way. There's a local I've told you about owes me $5,000 in cash, and Preacher Man, who is also the singer, snorted it up according to his secretary. And the last 2 times I ran into him at Memphis airport, he turned around and ran back down the B concourse. You know, so I don't know. I will say this. In the 15 years I was in Hollywood, I know it's very stressful because people are trying to backstab you at every chance they get. It's not about making money. They have an agenda, and if you don't match their agenda, they want to take you down. Now, let's put it this way. If you saw me, sometimes I would have security out of town. And out of town was outside of Los Angeles because I had a permit to carry in California that I got through Ventura County, being the only one of only 3 counties where they would issue those things to ordinary people, because they certainly wouldn't in L.A.
Yes, sir.
And I have one here. So most of the time when you see me, even now, I'm alone. But to give you the comparison, the last 3 or 4 years I did my show, I had better ratings than Oprah did. So I was higher in the ratings than Oprah Winfrey. I was higher than Dr. Phil. And I brought in more money to Viacom and CBS and had higher ratings than Chappelle did. They tried to just ignore me. Yet sometimes I was the #1 syndicated show in America. Now, did I have security? Sometimes, but not often.
Yes, sir.
So it's kind of like, bring it on. You know, if you die of old age, you shit all over yourself, vomit, you feel sick as hell, it's hard to breathe, everything aches. What better way than to get it over with quickly and maybe take somebody to Valhalla with you so they can wait on you for eternity?
Or also come and go at the same time, you know, dying while having
what's what I'm
intercourse.
saying? Take somebody with you.
I'm talking about having intercourse too, to die like that is.
Oh yeah, well,
you come
actually,
and go at
there's
the
an
same
old
time.
family friend. Wait a minute, there's an old family friend, and he and his wife got divorced, and his wife was my mother's best friend at the time. And his nickname was Stud Horse Taylor. He used to go to Tennessee A&I, which is now Tennessee State. And he and his wife kept getting back together, and they were in a motel hooking back up, and he busted out on the downstroke, you know. So what the hell? It happens.